Today's video, we're going to go over why you should stop buying those 200-watt solar panels for your RV. Go over some lies and misconceptions that I've seen spread around all social medias about RV solar. And hopefully this information will help you guys out in your decision making about RV solar. So let's get to it. The comment that I got started off with, "You don't need that much solar." Well, how much solar do I need? I'd love to hear this. I'm gonna share the real deal with you about RV solar and to kind of explain to you how this stuff really works. The peak I've ever seen with our system is about Alright guys, welcome to another video. I'm Chris, this is the Salty Trip channel. We're all about full-time RV life, trucks, travel, towing, all that fancy stuff. And we have been building the solar systems on our last two RVs pretty extensively. And we've made videos on all this stuff. But what kind of spurred this video is I got a comment on one of my previous solar install videos that I just couldn't let go because it had so many misconceptions and lies in this one comment that I've seen actually spread on Facebook and other YouTubers just getting to know it, and they're just regurgitating stuff that they've heard that isn't really true. Stuff gets repeated enough and people think, well, this is the way it should be. And that's not always accurate. So I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus today. We're going to leave names out, but I'm going to put the comment up here. We're going to go over it. I'm going to read the whole thing, and then we're going to pick it apart and show you exactly what I'm talking about. And this will all relate to why I think you should stop buying the 200-watt solar panels. So, but if you're new, we're just going to give you a little background about what's been going on. Our first RV, we put 3,200 watts of solar on it, and we had 20,000 watt hours of 24 volt, 800 amp hours lead time batteries, and we have two Victron inverters, several charge controllers. We've done things in series parallel on our solar. We've messed with it every which way. And then we bought a new RV and we moved a bunch of those panels over to the new RV and most of that system over to it. And then we added more. So now this RV, even though it's almost like a foot and a half shorter, we still managed to put a whopping 3,500 watts of solar on the roof. The comment that I got started off with, "You don't need that much solar." And I'm like, who are you to tell me how much solar I need? And so my first reply was, well, how much solar do I need? I'd love to hear this. So this is the reply that I got back. So we're gonna read this and go over it first. I'm gonna try to do this with a straight face and try not to interrupt too many times, but I just may have to because you'll see. Using too many solar panels is a common misconception about solar. Many high-dollar van manufacturers will have upwards of 1,400 amp hour batteries and only mount 400 to 600 watts. You figure that with 10 hours of sun and 600 watts, you reasonably get 500 watts an hour. And this is after I read that, I'm like, there's everything after this guy has absolutely no idea what he's talking about, and everything after that I know is going to be probably garbage. But we're going to get through it because I see some of this stuff over and over again. That is about 5,000 watts, give or take, a 10-hour period. You're running lithium or lead acid. How amp hours of batteries are you running? That's just bad grammar. I think it said how many hours of batteries are you running? Well, why didn't you ask that in the first place with your first comment of you don't need that much solar? Now you're asking how much batteries I got to recharge? Anyway, moving on. The rule is generally 200 solar watts for 100 amp hours. That means 800 watts of solar for 400 amp hours of battery. 400 amp hours is a lot of battery power. Says who? If you have 2,100 watts of solar, you could charge 1,100 amp hours of batteries. Okay, I'll try to keep it together. That is a huge battery bank, and even then, 800 watts of solar could charge it from dead full in one day with a whole lot less of power wasted. The BMS on lithium batteries will stop powering the battery after it charged. I have 400 amp hours of battery and only 400 watts on the roof. It never runs out of power. It's your RV, but that's a lot of cables, holes, and in the roof and power. Do you have a MPPT or PWM controller? How many amps will it take? Are you running parallel or serial? All of these questions, and a little math can tell you what you need. So we're going to give a little math lesson here in just a second. Too much solar means that you may be throwing a lot of power away and a lot of dollars on panels. Do you always empty your battery bank? Lithium solves that, and most lithium batteries have 4,000 cycles to 80%, where lead acid has 400 cycles before they just die. Just a thought, not trying to be an idiot. Well, too late. Anyway, there's so much I need to say about this, and I'm sure you probably heard some of these same things that have been regurgitated over and over again, either on Facebook, whatever, what have you. Is what I'm gonna share the real deal with you about RV solar, and to kind of explain to you how this stuff really works. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a good idea of exactly what you need to be thinking about to build your system or changes you may want to make. And like I say in all my videos, I don't tell anybody what to do. I just share my experience and how I do things and why I chose to do those things the way I did. And it's up to you if you want to, follow suit or be like, I want to take a different path. It's up to you guys. All right, so this is where we're going to start at. We're going to start at, you figure that you get 10 hours of sun, and we'll go by what he says. The 600 watts, you will reasonably get 500 watts an hour. That is 5,000 watts, give or take, in a 10-hour period. All right. Now, that is just complete garbage. My response to him was, like, even if you had panels that rotated perfectly 90 degrees with the sun throughout the entire day, you're liable not to get these kind of numbers. That's just not how solar works. You get 10 hours of good sun a day, you're still not going to get these numbers. For instance, we'll take our system that we have here. We have 3,500 watts of solar on the roof, but we pretty much have full sun most of the day. It goes over us, and there's no trees or anything. There's a little bit of trees over here early in the morning, but it's fully over it by like 10 o'clock or so. 500 watts out of 600 watt panels is about 85%. And if you're going to look at about 85% of our panels, that's about 2,900 watts out of the 3,500 watt a panel we have. So if we were following this guy's math, if we were to get 10 hours at 2,900 watts, we should be seeing 29,000 watt hours of power a day. Does anybody want to guess what kind of power we're seeing on like a regular daily basis? I'm going to tell you what our max has been. I'm going to show it right here. Here's the best day that we've had at this spot so far. And the most we've ever pulled in was 18,500 watt hours. That's 18.5 kilowatts. And according to this guy, we should be getting 29 kilowatts. And there's good reason why we don't, because that makes 0 sense. For 10 hours a day, 85% of your solar panel's capacity for 10 hours. That just does not happen. I don't know, there might be a place on this planet where it might actually happen. There's an exception to everything. I'll leave that caveat in there. There's an exception to every rule. But for the most part, that you're never going to see that. And you can see here that it is, you see where the sun kind of gradually comes up, and this is a really great day, and it spikes there in the middle of the day for a couple hours, and then slowly peters right back off. We don't really start seeing some good solar till after 10 o'clock, and it really starts to drop off a little after 4. So that's about 6 hours of really prime time. And you got to remember too, when you put these things on the roof, some of these roofs are sloped. Like our roof is sloped on both sides, and the front and the back, and in the middle is flat. So we have like, five or six different angles that our panels are actually laying. They're not all laying perfect. If you have a perfectly flat roof, then they're all laying the same way. Or if you have tilt-up panels, that'll help out too. So we arranged our panels and the configuration so that no matter where the sun is, we're going to get a good bit on a good chunk of our panels throughout the day, whether it's, casting shade from an AC or not. And that'll be a whole nother video we'll do, because we have 3 sets of series. Nope, nothing in parallel. And we'll explain why we did that. And that'll have to be in like another video, because that's not what this one's about. All right, solar production throughout the day. Let's talk a little bit more about that. All right, I took a screen recording of over like about a week worth of every day what our power was getting. Just remember, the orange is solar input and The red is the consumption. And there's a little blue line that goes across that's going to be the state of charge of the battery. I want you guys to pay attention for a certain pattern that you're going to see over and over again concerning how much solar power you get during the day. So let's start it. And here we go. This is it one day, skipping over to the next day. And then the following day, you're starting to see the pattern, right? Pay attention, because it's another day. And I think I put a couple more days on here. But who's seeing the pattern? All right, that's it. All right, who saw the pattern I was talking about? I didn't. I didn't see a pattern. There is no pattern. It's so random. Every day is different. There is not one day that was almost exactly similar as the next day. Every day was different, and it's going to change, like, depending on where you're at. You could be like somewhere where there's no clouds, never any rain, and the sun goes perfectly across your RV in the same, exact way every day without any disturbing. You never get dust on your panels. It never rains. You may see some similar every day, but in most cases, that's not how it's going to be. In most cases, you're going to be subject to the clouds, rain, just overcast, fog. You may be parked next to a tree. Who knows? But there's a bunch of factors that go into how much solar you get per day. As you've seen, even on my best day, I only pulled in a little over 18 kilowatts. And if you saw, I consumed, and we pulled from shore, about 44 kilowatts. So I wasn't even have enough solar just to cover the power that we're consuming with our 2 air conditioners and all the other stuff that we run, washer, dryer, and all that. Because right now we're hooked up to 30 amp, and I have it set at about usually 18 to 20 amps input, and then the solar takes care of the rest. All right, and at the peak I've ever seen with our system is about 3,181 watts. And we have 3 arrays. One of them is 750 watts, that's 3 panels together. We have 5 panels together for 1,250 watts, and then we have one set that's 6 panels together in series for 1,500 watts. And in this case, we're seeing 706 watts out of the 3 panels in series, and so they're just 54 watts shy of maxing out. And the 5 in series is 1,148 watts, which is 102 watts shy of maxing out. And then our 6 panels in series, that's 1,361 watts, and that's 139 watts shy of maxing out. But we have had some of them go over the max, like in this case. All right, if you look here on this day, we were getting 2,984 watts at this particular time. It's probably close to like noon or 1 o'clock or something like that, midday. And we have the middle one is 5 panels in series. The max should be 1,250 watts, and we're getting 1,276 watts out of those 5 panels. So we're actually getting over 100% of capacity. But we're nowhere close to 100% on our other 2, because remember, they're at different angles. The 3 that are at the front, those actually, all 3 angles are set at just a little bit different angle than each other. So I don't ever foresee those ever getting to 100% of power pulling. And the ones on this side, those 6 in series, are at a different angle than that on this side. So that's just probably hitting just the right angle on this one and not those. So you're not going to see 100% or even close to that usually, typically on a RV setup. Like I said, there's always exceptions. Like if you're out in the Arizona desert and you have your RV set at a perfect angle for the sun to go across, and you have all your panels tilted, they get the maximum amount of power per panel throughout the day. Those are the exceptions. And you're still not going to see like the numbers like this guy says. And that's a misconception of lies I keep seeing. But like, if you get this is how much power you're going to get. You're not going to get that much power. More than likely, you're never going to see that much power every single day. Like, oh, you got 1,200 watts of solar. You're getting 1,200 watts per hour for 8-10 hours a day. That is rarely ever going to happen, just because of all the factors I just explained to you. This is the way I see it. I don't plan for hoping every day is going to be the best. I plan for bad days, and I panel so that I'm still maximizing as much power as I can with the space I have. So now that we've gone over actually how solar actually works and performs in real world, and I know there's probably going to be somebody arguing with me, no, I get this much blah, blah, blah throughout the whole day, whatever. These are real numbers. This is in Florida in the summertime. Everywhere is going to be a little bit different. The farther north you go, the less you're going to pull down. The farther south you go, the more you're going to pull down with the same clear sky. But you live in Seattle where it rains all the time, you're not getting squat. All right, let's get back to this guy's comment. The general rule is 200 watts for 100 amp hours. Who says? You know, there is no rule book about this. Now we'll get to this comment. I have 400 amp hours of batteries and only 400 watts on the roof. It never runs out of power. People, when you hear comments like that, they assume that because they live a certain way and they use a certain amount of power, that you have to do it the exact same way they do. And anything more than that is excess. And they just can't fathom why you would be able to run a microwave or a hairdryer or air conditioning or TV or whatever. It's the same old argument. Well, RVing is not real camping and that whole mess, but we're not going to get into that. And then he goes on to ask me about, you know, my lithium battery bank and how much I have. Well, you probably should have started with that, asking how that, or gone back and watched the other videos because I explained all that mess. And here he goes to say, too much solar means you may be throwing away a lot of power and a lot of dollars on panels. Well, here's what I have to say about that. Most people buy solar systems and inverters and everything because they have desires to be able to have either AC or DC or AC and DC power throughout their RV to run certain things for a certain amount of time. And in our case, we want to be able to run everything as much as we want, as long as we can, hopefully. But everybody's different. Everybody's power needs. And so half the time people get out there and they decide, well, I just wanted to run this. And then they get out there and they start doing things like, well, it'd be nice if I could have this. And it'd be nice if I could have this too. But you're subjugated to the system that you already set up. So you got to go buy a generator or go back and start installing more solar and inverters and batteries and all that stuff. And this is another thing that was driving me crazy about this guy's comments. He kept saying 1400 amp hours, 400 amp hours, 1100 amp hours. That doesn't mean anything. Amp hours are useless without a reference to voltage. And this guy is assuming that because he uses 12 volt power, that everybody else uses 12 volt power. We have a 24 volt system. I know there's a lot of people who do 48 volt systems. So if somebody's out there just spewing out amp hours or referring to amp hours without any kind of reference to the battery voltage, or instead referring them to as watt hours instead of amp hours, that's a red flag right there. Because not everybody is running the same voltage as you. Because you say 400 amp hours, 400 of my amp hours is twice the amount of power as 400 your amp hours. Because that's 5,000 watt hours for you, and then that would be 10,000 watt hours for me because we're running 24 volts. All right, now we're going to start talking about why I think we should stop buying these 200 watt solar panels and putting them on our RVs. And here's the reasoning. Just follow along. Most RVs are about 96 inches wide. You cut those into thirds, and you have about 32 inches per section. And most of these 200 watt panels are about 27 inches wide. Here, I'm going to show some pictures up here of some RVs with these 200 watt panels. And what do we see here? What do we see over and over and over again on all these RVs? We see wasted space on both sides of each panel, going towards the outer edge and going towards the middle. And we got these 250 watt panels that are like 30 inches wide as opposed to like these 26, 27 inches wide. And they're very similar lengths. So for every panel we lay down, we get an extra 50 watts. But for you can put less panels and get the same amount or more power because you're going to have to wind up buying more panels to equal the same amount. So this is just about using your space wisely. So if you think you only need 1,000 watts of solar, you buy 4 of these panels, you put them up there, you put them in a place where you line them up so that you can add more later, because you may decide 1,000 watts might not be enough for you. It may be plenty for you. I'm not shooting down anybody that uses less power than we do. It's just, this is the way we decided we were going to RV. Some people just may want to run outlets like the TV and microwave, and they don't want to run their air conditioners. Or some people don't even want the TV or microwave. They just need to run a CPAP machine on 120 volt power or some other essentials Like they may have a residential fridge or something like we had in our old one. So who knows? Everybody's needs are a little bit different and wants are different. And the two big deciding factors about how much solar you're going to get, you can get on your roof is either your budget and space. A lot of times you only have so much money to spend on this, and you only have so much rooftop space on your RV to spread it out on. So that's why we went with these 250 watt panels that make the most efficient use of space. But if your roof is configured in a way where 200 watt panels works the best for you, well then go do that. Get the 200 watt panels. But these 250 watt panels that we got, like we've showed you, they can max out at 100%. And I more recently saw another company that was making these 250 watt panels, but they're bifacial. And I would have thought about getting those too, especially because we actually lifted ours up a little bit higher with the brackets that we installed. So we do get a little bit of sunlight underneath and maybe possibly got more power. I'll leave links for panels that we used and the bifacial panels in the description area below. But these 250 watt panels that we have seem to be producing pretty well, as you've seen. I'm not knocking 200 watt panels that they can't produce. I'm just saying these 250 watt panels that are 30 inches wide are making better use of the space down each side in the middle. And hopefully you have great days. And when you don't have those great days, you still have some pulling and some power. Like here, one day it was pouring rain and this. It is pouring rain out here. But we are still getting 470 watts of solar. The clouds were everywhere. It was pouring rain, and you can still see some sun, but we were still pulling in, I don't know, a little over 400 watts or so, which is better than nothing. All right, so if any of this makes any sense for you, please give this video a big thumbs up. Shows that you appreciate the content. And if you have any questions about anything, leave them down in the comment section below. And if you choose to get the 250 watt panels, I will leave links for those in the description area below. We're not sponsored by either company, but if anybody's out there using the bifacials, get some, use them, and let me know how they perform. Thank you for coming along. Make sure you subscribe, notification bell, all that fancy jazz. Like I said, give this video a big thumbs up, and we'll see you guys in the next video.